Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, we're just going to do another review of velocity banking. And you might ask, what is velocity banking? All it is simply a debt payoff strategy using lines of credit as your main tool. Now, just to kind of emphasize what we're going to do, and this is related to the title of the video, for the average American, they like to have maybe 3 months, 3 to 6 months of savings as a cushion in case of emergencies. Now, we're going to do something that most people would consider crazy. Instead of having our leftover savings in our savings account, we're going to make sure that our savings goes to zero. So, for the purpose of this demonstration, savings accounts not allowed, right? In fact, the only reason I have a savings account is that when I had to get a line of credit from a credit union, they forced me to get a savings account. It was like one of the requirements for a membership. So I said, okay, but I'm not really going to use it. So here for what we're going to do, zero savings, not allowed for this demonstration. Okay. And so for velocity banking, what are the two main requirements? And there's only really two. Number one is that we need a budget, right? So our budget is essentially our attack plan. Okay. It is essentially our attack plan. So we have our income and our expenses and then our leftover savings, right? And we're going to do is make sure that every single debt we have is going to be listed because our debt is eating our cash flow, and the more debt we pay off, the more that we increase our cash flow, which is the essentially the name of the game, right? Pay off debt, increase cash flow. That's the goal of velocity banking. And so we have one, two, three, four, five, six debts here. And what's going to be a little bit unusual about this scenario is we're going to deal with a very high, or what's normally considered to be a higher interest debt, 8%, right? And if you take a look at mortgage interest rates today, that's pretty much on par. I don't know if you know anybody who's recently got a mortgage. I know that when I got one in 2021, I got it at 2.875%, right? So that's a huge difference. Now for rental property, my interest rate is actually 7.99999, right? So if you get this interest rate for your personal residence, it might seem like a big deal, but here's what I would always uh, like to think about is that it's much better to get a low property purchase price and a higher interest rate than the other way around, right? Too many Americans just think about the monthly payment, but think about it like this: would you rather have a property, get a property in San Francisco for $80,000, right? Like this is probably the prices in like the 1970s, and an 18% interest rate, or $1 million purchase price? You know, let's travel back to 3 or 4 years ago at a 3% interest rate. Which one would you rather prefer? Right? Which one would you rather prefer? I would definitely take the $70,000 property at an 18% interest rate, much more than the $1 million property at 3%, right? So purchase price is way more important than the interest rate. The interest rate kind of matters, but to me, it doesn't matter that much. Now, let's go ahead and now we've done our budget, right? So number two is we need a line of credit as our main operating account. And what's a line of credit? All it is a financial tool where you can borrow money, pay back, and then use it over and over again, right? That's essentially what a line of credit is. It's going to be our main operating account. So for the average American, the main operating account is the checking account. For someone doing velocity banking, the main operating account is the line of credit. And we're going to assume that we have access to something called a home equity line of credit, because if you're a homeowner and you have something called equity, it's like having access to a credit card based on the value of your home. So let's assume that we have a $60,000 home equity line of credit. Okay. Again, kind of like a credit card that we can use for anything, right? So unlike a regular credit card, which is a type of line of credit, we can't use it to pay everything. I can't use this to pay credit cards. I can't use this to pay a student loan or auto loan or mortgage. I can't do that. But with the home equity line of credit, I can use it to pay anything. And that's the beauty of that tool. Okay, so what we're going to do is assume that we're not making more income, even though making more income is fantastic. And let's just do a quick re engineering of our expenses, right? So if you don't know what the velocity banking strategy is, all it is that you're going to put your entire paycheck into the line of credit, and then you take your expenses out. and then your balance of that line of credit will go down by your cash flow and any associated interest. Okay? Now, right now, before we actually move any debts, because we're going to just do some debt transfers, just remember the whole goal of this strategy is to increase this cash flow number. Okay? So right now, that cash flow number is the same as our savings, but let's just do this. So, like magic, let's move these 3 credit cards to our home equity line of credit. Okay, so how much balance do we have? We have 7, 5, and 10. That's 22,000. And let's move this 22,000 into our line of credit. Okay? And so what happens there? Well, since this debt has just essentially been moved, the payment goes to 0. So 0, 0, 0, right? And now what happened? Oh my goodness. We went from $1,300 to $2,000, right? We made this number go up without even actually making more money. Isn't that crazy? We made it go up without making more money. So now what we do again, put our entire paycheck into that line of credit. So about 22,000 is the balance. Take our expenses out, which is going to be about 4,000, and then the balance will go down about $2,000 every single month, right? Now we got to calculate the interest, so let's go ahead. I'll show you how to calculate the next month's balance, next month's interest, and all that. So let's go ahead and do that. Whoopsie. So okay, J2 plus 1. So to calculate the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow number, which is $2,034. So 2034.07. Okay. Now what we got to do is just calculate the interest. The interest is calculated by the average daily balance. We take the average function, get these two numbers, multiply it by 10%. That's the interest rate right here, and then divide by 12. And then now all we got to do is just copy and paste. Copy and paste these formulas until you see that red number right here. Bam! Then it took us pretty much 12 months to pay this entire 3 credit cards off of 22,000. So these 3 credit cards of 22,000 have been paid off in about a year. So it's just 12 months, 22K, right? Bam, 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 22K. Isn't that amazing? Actually, let me do this here. Delete this column, make it easier to read. So 22K. And then now what we're going to do is figure out the balance of each of these are after 12 months. Okay. So now, because what we're going to do is figure out, should we pay the auto loan, the student loan, or the mortgage? Up to you. I always like to go, actually, let me explain this. So first of all, let's figure out what the current balance is after 12 months. So after 12 months, that 38K student loan, how much is that? So let's just quickly put this in, 38,000. And what is the term of the loan? Usually it's 10 years. And what's the interest rate? 4.5%. Okay. So 4.5% after 12 months, what is the balance? It's 34K. Actually, I think it's end of year 1. So probably the balance is not, yeah, 34K. Let's be a little bit exact. Okay. So now, so 34K. Now we have an auto loan, right? We have an auto loan where we're kind of paying halfway through paying on it. So the original balance is 25,000. We start at 15, and then we just gotta add 12 more months. So let's go ahead and do this. 25,000. 5 years, and what's the interest rate? I think it's 5. All right. So now let's go ahead and figure out 12 months at 15 grand. 15,335. So add 12 more months. So it's going to be about 10 grand. Okay. So let's go ahead and figure this out. Okay. And then at the 30-year mortgage, and this is a crazy part. I don't know if you've ever seen a mortgage schedule for 30 years at 8%. Take a look at this. So if I have a $190,000 loan, look how much interest I'm paying. It's like almost pretty much double. right? So yeah, you borrow $200,000, almost $200,000, and you're gonna pay the bank $300,000, right? Or in interest. So a total of $500,000. So I don't know if you ever knew that, but that's crazy how much money or interest a 30-year mortgage generates. So now let's go in here. So let's take a look. After 12 months, the balance is, so month 12, so it'll be 188. So look at all this interest we're paying. Interest. Oh, 1,200 to 100, a pitiful, measly $100. So let's go ahead and take this. Okay, whoopsie, wrong one. All right, so now we paid off after, look at this. This went from 190 to 188 after paying 12 grand, no, about 14 grand a month. Not 14 grand, 1400, right? So 34, 10, 188. Mind blown, right? Okay, so now we've done that. And now we got to figure out is which one do we focus on? The auto loan, the student loan, and the mortgage. My guess is I'm going to take on the auto loan first. So I don't know if you know about like the debt order payoff strategies, but there's two typical ways to figure that out. So the first way is you figure out, oh, which one has the lowest balance, highest interest rate, highest payment, and then try to fit the loans into these categories. I like to use the cash flow index because it's a lot easier for me to read. All it is a simple math formula that ignores the interest rate. And yes, if you look into the explanation, the interest rate is totally ignored. Okay, and some people like get scared of that. But let's go ahead and do the formula. So the formula is the statement balance over the monthly payment. So this one equals 34658.23 divided by 400. And then this one is 15335.11 divided by 471.78. And this one is 188,274.74 divided by 1394.15. So actually, let me make this a little bit better to read. Okay, so what does this mean? Ignore the colors as well. I got to make this into a more easily readable color. Basically, think of this as a numerical ranking system. And if it's below 50, you definitely want to pay that off. And if it's above 100, you want to pay that off last. Because the way that you think about this is, hey, would I pay $188,000 to get $1,400 back? Or would I pay off 10 grand to get 471 back? Right? That's how you kind of think about this. You get more cash flow for paying this off quick because for paying this off, even though this one has a higher interest rate and a higher payment, I get more cash flow for this. So I want to focus on paying this one off, right? So let's go ahead and do that. This again, we start off with the lowest number first. If you want more information on this, look up the cash flow index wealth factory on Google. But I just want to quickly highlight that. And so now let's go ahead and move this 10 grand loan to the line of credit and free up that cash flow. So let's do that right there. And then now what we got to do in month 12, add that 10 grand. And then, all right, so now guess what happens? When we move that 10 grand auto loan or the remaining balance, bam, this goes to zero, right? And so now our cash flow is 2505.85, right? So that's crazy how we went from 1300 to 2505.85. So let's go ahead and now do the calculations with that. So minus 2505.85. Okay. All right. So now in month 16, we got to calculate record our new milestone of paying off this auto loan. So just 4 more months, 16 months, we paid off. Well, I don't want to include the 25 because the 25 was paid off, or 10 grand was paid off before we started Velocity Banking. But so 15 plus 22, so 15 plus 22, what is 15 plus 22? 37. 37K. Woohoo! All right, so we paid that off. So 37K in 16 months. And now the next one is essentially the student loan. Okay. Now let's go ahead and figure out 4 more months what the current balance is. So let me just take this off here, and we'll take this off here for now. So at 16 months, what is the balance of that loan? So 16 months. So let's just put in here. So where do we go? Oh my goodness. All right, so now I got to put in 38,000. 38,000, 4.5% at 10 years. Okay. All right. And then 4.5%, and we're looking for 16 months. So 16 months, this is the balance. And let's recalculate that cash flow index. So equals this divided by 400. Okay, so let's take a look. Oh, 38,000. Did I screw this up? 4.5. Oh, I probably overestimated. All right, whatever. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. So here's the thing. When it comes to low interest rate loans, I'm honestly not sure if it's really a good idea to put the entire thing in the line of credit, but doing something called chunking will always give you an optimal result. So if you basically transfer a small amount that's similar to your paycheck, you could essentially overpay this without having to lose your liquidity. Hopefully that makes sense. And if it doesn't, don't forget what I said. Now, luckily, we have a velocity banking calculator. So if I go in here and I just type in the information, especially if we're dealing with amortized loans, right? It'll tell us the amount of time it takes to pay this all off. Okay. So what's the interest rate here? It is 4.5% at 10 years, and the payment 393.83. Let's be a little bit more exact. 393.83. And then we're going to move, we'll say $6,000 to our line of credit. And what's our monthly income? $6,000. And how much do we have to include in our expenses? It's everything except, okay, everything except the loan we're trying to pay off. So everything except this. So it's 3094.15. 3094.15. 3094.15. And then you can see here, it takes us 1 year to pay off that loan, right? And we save about $6,000 in interest. 1 year, really? That's crazy, crazy. All right, so now what we do is write another milestone. And then, so 16 plus 12, what's 16 plus 12? 28 months. And 28 months. Now what we do is we get this 33K, or no, 38K, and add it to here. So 38K, so what's 38 plus 67? Equals 38 plus 67. No, I screwed up. 38 plus 105K. Really? Did I? No. I screwed up. No, 38 plus 30s. Now, where did I get 67? I'm going insane. All right. All right. So 75K. That's more like it. So 75K. All right. 75K. And then now it's time for the mortgage. So after 28 months, what's the balance of the mortgage? Let's check one more time. So it's 190,000 at 8% for 30 years. Okay. And then now we take a look at this. 8% for 30 years at 28 months. 28 months. This is going to be this number, 186. Right? And so now we're just going to do the same thing. Move parts of the principal to the line of credit. You call it chunky, you call it whatever, and then we'll see how long it takes to pay it off. Again, paycheck into line of credit, expenses out, and we'll see how long it takes off. And if you don't know where I got this calculator from, it's from Renatus. This is where I originally learned Velocity Banking in 2017. But the cool thing is they have an entire real estate and financial literacy curriculum. And I actually sell this education and make some commission out of it. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, this is where I first learned it from. So we'll just go back here. So now let's go ahead and fill in that information. So 190,000, okay, and then 8% interest rate for 30 years. And what's that monthly payment? 1394.15. And now what we got to do is just take out this payment, and now we just put 1,700 for expenses. And let's see how long it takes. Oh my goodness, 4.3 years to pay it off? 4.3 years. Is your mind blown? You know how long it takes for the average American to pay off their mortgage? Their 30-year mortgage? It takes more than 30 years. And just imagine if we just started this game plan, we don't even have to invest in stocks or anything like that, or even real estate. Just pay off our own personal debts, and in 4.3 years, we're going to be mortgage free. 4.3 after we paid off all of our other debts, of course. So now let's go ahead and take a look here. And what we're going to do is add 28 divided by 12 plus 4.3. That's going to tell us how many years it's going to take in total to pay off all of our debt, because that was the last measure of our milestone took to pay off our student loan. So now it's going to take us 6.63 years to be debt free. Oh my goodness. And how much debt are we off free? It's 190. So this mortgage balance plus the 75K. So equals 190 plus 75. And that's $265,000 of being debt free, right? Debt free, 265K. Debt free scream, right? Debt free in 6.6 years, including your mortgage, which means you never have to pay another dime for rent or to the mortgage company, right? You don't have to pay for housing except for maybe your property taxes, and you may still want to keep the insurance. I don't know. But yeah, we're pretty much completely debt free now. And here's the thing, no savings. What do I need the savings for? And if I need the savings, then I just get it from that line of credit, right? So during the time I'm paying off our debt and I need a little bit of extra money, just get it from the line of credit. All right. Okay. Well, this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So just another review of the debt payoff scenarios that we always do with Velocity Banking. And let me just kind of give you a quick peek under the hood of what this looks like. So if I show this, this shows what happens when we transfer parts of the principal balance into that line of credit. And you can see that there's a daily interest calculation, and our income goes in, and then I think somewhere along the line, yeah, our expenses come out. So again, this is, as I'm pretty sure it could get more accurate, but for me, this is accurate enough. But the beauty of this is it allows me to easily see when the payoff date is, which is why I really love using this calculator. All right, well, happy Sunday, everybody, because today is Sunday. Have a great day, and we'll speak next time.